Welcome to the Small Business Breakthrough Podcast, where every week we're interviewing small business guests that are small businesses supporting other small businesses. This week we have a special guest on from Hive 180. We have Leslie Silverman, who's the owner and client whisperer, dealing with all things brand. We're talking with a brand strategist, is what they specialize. But some people get confused as to what brand strategy actually is. Leslie, can you dive right in and let us know what's a branding strategist?
Absolutely. So a lot of people just get sort of pigeonholed with deliverables. So whether that's I need a new logo or I need a new website. And so we try and take it sort of at a higher level. And everything you do that has your company's name or voice or information attached to it is part of your brand. So we do something called a brand buzz with every client that we begin with, which is just a deep dive where I ask a list of about 50 questions to understand what's unique about them, where are their pain points, where they've been, where they want to go, and how they can really call in their ideal client. And so those deliverables often can include a website and a logo and other branding components. But instead of just having like a checklist, we try and really ensure we are honing in on their target market and how to draw in not just any client, but really those high level, high profit, high satisfying relationships for them.
Yeah, Leslie, so this in this day and age, a personal brand has become the thing to have in order to be able to, really stand out. Even big CEOs of big companies are having to show their personal face and get into the personal branding things. What is your take on this personal brand movement being a branding strategist?
I think that so much of the history of business was that you had to be like the version of yourself at home and, the version of yourself in business. And I think that that is fading away. And so for me, especially working with entrepreneurs, I feel like you are your business. So your authenticity and your personal goals and missions and opinions and maybe philanthropic things you care about or activities that you enjoy should and can be a huge part of your business brand, because then you're just going to call in those more rewarding client relationships regardless of what you do. So, let's just say you are an avid skier, for example, but you are a contractor who builds homes. Well, maybe you can build that relationship with the client that you're building a home for on the slopes, or maybe, understanding that that's a hobby you share just gives you common ground and trust. So I think that things that matter in our authentic selves should be a part of who our business brand is, especially with small businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very, very strong. What do you say to clients that come in and that are worried around not getting, like, saying no to certain clients, because you're emphasizing the strategy around bringing in the right clients and working with the right people is the right way to go, obviously, but it's really hard as a small business owner to turn away or to not put out content that is relatable and to create friction in the marketplace. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I actually love that question. And I love the power of no. No is a really powerful word. It is a complete sentence. And what I have personally found through trial and error and growth, when I first started out, I just felt like I owed it to myself and my business to take every single client that came through the door. And I quickly realized when there's not resonance, when it's not a great fit, and you're just taking the business because you see the dollar signs, it never works out for anyone. So I have said no to some big ticket projects where I just knew that the personal dynamic of myself and the other business owner wasn't going to be the best fit for us. And through doing that, I opened them up to go find a branding or web development partner that was the best fit for them. And then my schedule was available for me to call in my best fit client. So I do a lot of talking about that with my clients in their strategy, just using the contractor reference again. This is top of mind because I just had a client I finished with in that category. he was doing tons of renovations and additions where his dream favorite clients are the ones who want like the full-fledged luxury custom home. So we rebranded him and his marketing and his website to really feature those luxury custom home projects. It doesn't mean he can't still take an addition or renovation project when they call, but by putting out into the world what he really, really wants to call in, he's now, getting more of those types of projects and attracting those types of clients. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Makes perfect sense to
Yeah.
me, at least. Hopefully our
Yeah.
listeners are catching the vibe that you want to portray to the world what you want as an ideal client. And then those will pop up as they see your marketing and it resonates with them. And if it doesn't resonate, they are empowered to go find somebody else that's there. And I love that mentality is you're allowing them to the opportunity and allowing you the opportunity to be able to work with clients that are beneficial in both elements because we didn't build a business to have a business that we don't like to run. We built a business for the freedom and the functionality and to serve those that really need our services and want our services. So that's amazing. Well, you're a co-founder or co-owner in this business with another one you commented on before we started. What inspired you guys to start your business?
Yeah. So my business partner's name is Daniel Sanders, and we worked together at a different marketing company. And we really enjoyed partnering on particular projects. We sort of shared the same approach and had excellent communication and recognized that we just had a different vision for how we wanted to run our business. So one area that we specialize in is working with what we've termed breakaway brands. And we were a breakaway brand when we started Hive 180 going on 10 years ago because we worked for a larger company. We branched out on our own. So envision like a law firm where there's maybe multiple attorneys and an attorney who wants to go out and be a solopreneur, and helping differentiate how they still have sort of the foundation from working at that company, but how they're different and how they can, establish themselves as an independent company. So that's where we came from. We just had a different vision for how we wanted to work with and partner with our clients.
Awesome. That is great to hear that you guys made the jump. It's been a while, but you've been growing. You've had a successful business. Getting to that 10-year mark is a big milestone for a lot of businesses because of the failure rate. Hey, real quick. Did you know that most small businesses don't actually achieve their breakthrough? And it's not because you don't care. It's all because you're trying to do it alone. That's why I created the Momentum Community, is to help you change that. I want to see you achieve the breakthrough that you've been waiting for. It's where we committed entrepreneurs come and get focused, get accountable, and finally build a business and life that you are meant for. If you want to learn more, click the link in the description below and enjoy the rest of the episode. What would you say is one of the biggest challenges that you have overcome over those 10 years?
Yeah, I don't want to sound cliche when I say like the challenge ended up being the gift, but um, we had a brick and mortar location and we had employees. And through all of the just changes of things like COVID, and then I went through a divorce and just different sort of life scenarios, we ended up ultimately converting to two home offices and working, remotely from one another. And so the challenges of that really showed us that we don't want to manage other people, that we love and think one of the biggest strengths of our clients, of our relationship with our clients is that they get to work with the owners, right? So there's not this, oh, well, that web developer I had last month now isn't there anymore. And now who do I talk to? So our clients really love knowing they're, talking to and working with the principals. It allows us to build trust and rapport. And then we've really been able to hand pick those dream clients that we partner with, have more freedom and flexibility in our day-to-day life, and work more on our own schedules a little bit. So while it was challenging to go through all of that, it really ended up being a gift.
Yeah, that sounds like you've definitely been through and done things in business together, and picking those spots that are very specific is critical to a lot of small businesses where they don't want to focus on that, and focus, follow one course until successful, is very critical in the success of and a small business owner's journey along the pathway. What's a recent, you talked a little bit about the contractor, maybe that's the story here, but is there another recent project or initiative that really has given you a ton of energy and just made kind of re-sparked anything that may have um that's, if the spark was starting to die and you had this one project come in, what would that project be?
Yeah, I have to give you a tiny bit of backstory to answer that fully. So, we actually did sort of have the spark start to die at the beginning of 2024. And we sat down and we really broke down, like, what do we love and not love about our day to day life and our business as part of that. And we strongly determined that we still, really, really enjoy our working collaborative creative process and being business partners, but what we didn't love was these endless retainer clients where you're spending, 15 minutes here, half an hour there, making small edits and not doing the big creative pieces. So we did a major business overhaul this year where we pivoted to the brand buzz strategy session that I mentioned, and then we work on an intensive model. So I'm just coming off of a really rewarding intensive that ended yesterday. So I'll use that as my example story, but we do the strategy session, and through that we get to really identify not just the basics of what deliverables the client needs to accomplish their goals, but really, really what their dream vision is for their business. And then we work on one client at a time. So instead of changing gears 8 times throughout the day or the week and then being like, wait, where were we over here? First we were working with this contractor, now we're working on this lawyer, now we're working on this. We can just really delve in and do our most creative work because we're just working on one client at a time. And then we unveil everything to the client in a 2-day intensive. So, the beginning of day one, we have magic hour where we show them their brand and their, whole vibe of what we are thinking and putting together for them based on everything we already know about them from the brand buzz. And then we work on honing the copy and, fine tuning the website. And then we help them. Yesterday it was, setting up business Facebook and Instagram and adding the new graphics for the brand to that. And this client also needed a booking schedule, and she has some different service offerings and her electronic newsletter, and she is an adoption consultant. So she helps prospective adoptive families navigate the complicated adoption world between lawyers and facilitators and agencies. And so I love that I not only love the client, but that I really got to help her bring this incredible, heartfelt vision to life. She's an adoptive parent and really struggled in her own journey to navigate that system. And her business was born of her passion and love for wanting this to be easier for and more affordable for other families. And so her feedback at the end of the day yesterday was how exciting it was to not have this drag on and on for weeks and lose momentum, and that she, was able to just see how we put everything together for her. And then we hand it over instead of that, some people feel like they're held hostage by their web developer because they need that person if they want anything changed or updated. So we are fully transparent. We give our clients all their working files. We teach them how to use their website. We hand everything over to them at the end of this intensive process so that we don't have to do retainers and small tweaks. They're empowered to have all their tools, and we get to do all the big strategic creative stuff. So it's an amazing process, and clients just adore it.
Yeah, definitely. Brand strategy is a kind of a newer thing, right? There's been a few and over a few around, but being such a new element in the digital marketing space, what would you say is the biggest challenges that you expect in the industry over the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, AI is something that people are afraid of and baffled by, although I feel like it's actually an exceptional tool. So I'm trying to empower my clients to use it to make their job easier, but it's not in place of their own voice. So you have to really train, you know, the AI tool that you're using to such a deep and meaningful way that it understands you and your unique brand strategy. So then you can use it to support you in making, whether it's like blog writing or, honing in on other productivity items that it can save you time without substituting, the human element that really makes you your own brand and makes you unique. So I think that is a huge trend that we're going to see in all industries of, the digital branding marketing umbrellas. And I think, learning to embrace that tool instead of being afraid of it is really, really important. And also, some of the social media and the way different platforms are quickly falling from favor and shifting in different manners. I think direct communication to your client base is going to be another trend. So things like, what you do with the podcast and the YouTube channel, and really just, creating your own audience communication, or newsletters, email lists, where you are having people opt in to be part of your individual community instead of relying on algorithms. I mean, that being said, we're not there now. And so I still am very active, on LinkedIn, for example. But I believe that, building those relationships is what will be important. So there's that dichotomy with the AI too, right? That we're going to come full circle to needing to have that trust and credibility with our audiences as individuals. And so using that just as a tool to help our productivity, but not in place of the personal connection.
Yeah, that is so amazing. Good information for those listeners out there. Leslie, it has been a fantastic conversation. We ask the same 6 questions at the end of every podcast, and I've reduced it from 7 to 6. But are you ready for these? Are meant to be lightning style questions, quick answers, not too hard. Are you ready to go?
Ready.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
If you could grab one weapon or item during a zombie apocalypse, what would it be?
Okay, garlic, or is that for vampires? I'm not a big zombie person.
That is for vampires, but we'll go with it because it works. The favorite quote or phrase that you think about often?
A quote. I would say the worst enemy to creativity is self-doubt. I believe that's Sylvia Plath.
Yeah, that sounds about right. One book that has influenced your life the most?
Daring Greatly. Brene Brown.
There you go. And the biggest obstacle you have overcome and one lesson you have learned from it?
I mean, this really isn't business specific, but again, back to me saying that our authentic self comes through our business. I'm going to say my divorce because, you know, I did not anticipate that, and then it was what I chose, and that I think it sent me in a new path and trajectory, as well as my ex-husband, and it ended up being better for both of us in the lives that we built. So I just think growth and change, just always being open, whether it's in business or personal, to, not thinking you have the whole outcome written, that just being open to change.
Yeah, being open to change is a big, powerful element of business and life in general, right? You never know what is going to get thrown at you or come down the road. Leslie, thank you so much for this interview. How can our listeners get a hold of you, or if they would like to collaborate or work with Hive 180?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I would say our website, which is hive180.com, HIVE180.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Leslie Silverman.
There you have it, everybody. All that information will be in the show notes or the description if you are watching this on YouTube. And I want to thank Leslie for being on the Small Business Breakthrough podcast. It has been so wonderful to get to hear about her story and how Hive 180 is changing the world of branding strategy. And listeners out there, until next time.